Jomboy Media began as a Yankees podcast launched by Jimmy O'Brien and Jake Storiale with a small investment from a friend. Since then, it has evolved into a much larger sports media company with dozens of channels, a roster of full-time creators, its own in-house sales operation, and even an original sports league called Warehouse Games. Much of that growth accelerated after Courtney Hirsch joined the company in late 2020, first to build out its advertising business and eventually to become CEO. In a recent interview, Hirsch explained why the company now builds around creators rather than individual shows, how Warehouse Games could evolve into a major entertainment franchise built on IP Jomboy owns outright, and why she believes apparel could become one of the company's biggest businesses. Hello, I'm Simon Owens, and this is The Business of Content, the show about how publishers create, distribute, and monetize their digital content. If you want to listen to an audio version of this show, subscribe to The Business of Content wherever you get your podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, gently tap on that subscribe button so you can watch more interviews with the world's most successful media entrepreneurs. Okay, let's jump into the interview. Hey, Courtney, thanks for joining us.
Hey, happy to be here.
So you are the CEO of Jomboy Media, and I want most of this interview to be focused on kind of your era when you came into the company and how you've like helped operationalize the entire company and kind of scale it. But just to get my listeners up to speed on what Jomboy Media is, can you just give us like a brief history of what your brother and his, I'm pretty sure he started it with another person, like what they originally launched and like basically a short history of the company leading up until before you joined?
Sure. So this all started, my brother was a Yankees fan living in California, and he had no one to talk Yankees with. So he turned to Twitter and he started tweeting, and he built a community on Twitter of Yankee fans. He had like 7,000 followers at the time. And this was just kind of like a side thing, like a hobby he was doing. And he said, hey, I have 7,000 followers. Should I start a podcast? And he started a podcast about the Yankees alone, was like, it would be really much better if I did this with someone else. So he convinced his best friend to join. And from there, one of their friends said, hey, if I give you $20,000, would you quit your job and do this full time? And he said, heck yeah. So that's how this all started. That was back in 2017.
2017. So your brother's name is Jimmy O'Brien?
Jimmy O'Brien.
And the friend that he found to host the podcast with him?
Jake Storiale.
Jake Storiale. And the name of the podcast?
So they first started with Talking Yanks.
Okay, Talking Yanks.
Which is now, the biggest Yankee podcast, now the second biggest baseball podcast in the world.
Yeah, so 2017, he's on Twitter. They convince him to start a podcast. They start this podcast together, Talking Yanks. Was it mainly just an audio podcast back then?
Yes, it was audio first, just back in the really, really early days. But they quickly put it on YouTube like a year or two later. Yeah,
and so approximately how long had gone by before someone offered them the $20,000 to do this full time?
A couple months.
Oh, so it was pretty early on.
Yeah, really early on.
Yeah, and how did they start finding an audience, to the best of your knowledge? Like, I don't know if you were listening back then or how much you were paying attention back then, but was this something that like quickly caught on very quickly, or was it like a slow burn, like audience growth?
Caught on pretty quickly. They really used Twitter in the early days, and they were very consistent. And Jimmy really built a strong Twitter following by, in his bio, he put he was a Yankees fan. He was the first to comment. He was the first to reply on Yankees creators or beat reporters' tweets. He did a post-game recap, a video of him after every single Yankees game. So it was the consistency and the volume of content that he was putting out made it almost impossible for him not to find a Yankee audience. But he lived and breathed this 24/7. He didn't really have a life outside of this when he was growing it.
Yeah, and this was the golden age of Twitter, like the thing that everybody in media misses, where, sports, politics, media, like especially these few like specific niches, like if there was a game on, everybody was watching that game, was on Twitter. Like it just did feel like it was the watering hole of the live internet. And he was very much a part of that.
Yes, 100%. Everyone was tapped in. Twitter was way different back then. More fun, more community based.
And this $20,000, was that an investment? Like what was the $20,000 exactly?
Yeah, so it was $20,000 originally, and then When Jake came on full time, it was another 20,000. So they built it off an original like $40,000 investment from a single investor that was one of their friends at the time.
Yeah. And so what was kind of the business model back? Was there a business model back then?
No, no. I think the person, said, if I give you $20,000, what should I do? And Jimmy was kind of like, well, what do you think we should do? Like it was really focused on just growing an audience and not planning out to every detail how they were going to make money. I think they knew if they built a community, built an audience, that we would figure out how to make money later.
Yeah. So we're still in 2017, 2018. You didn't come on until 2020. What between that kind of 2018 to 2020, how did the business start scaling up from there? Because I know so they had the Talking Yanks, but then I know that there was a channel called Jomboy Media that started, and then I know there was a very viral video of like analysis that happened. So can you walk me through that kind of evolution?
Sure. So yeah, they started doing, I can't like maybe like 40 shows a week, and they were just experimenting with new shows all the time. A lot of it was in sports. Some of it was in history. Some of it was just an entertainment radio show. They were just putting out content around the clock, and we're seeing what got traction and what stuck. YouTube, my younger brother at the time, convinced Jimmy, my other brother, my younger brother was in college still, to put his content on YouTube. And he was like, kids at my college are doing it. Like they're making serious money from YouTube. And that was the first time that Jimmy considered, okay, maybe I'll use YouTube as a distribution channel. But in the beginning, when he did when he first started doing his infamous breakdown videos, and those are our flagship series, they get like more than 1 million views for one single video. He was doing those as promotion to drive back to the podcast. And the podcast was the main thing. And then those have their own leg of their own now and became such a flagship show in themselves.
Yeah, and so there was the Talking Yank podcast, and there was Jomboy Media, and then for Jomboy Media, it's like a more edited thing. It's not like a conversational thing. Like he's showing footage from a game, and he's providing some kind of analysis of whatever he's showing us on screen, basically.
Yeah, he's a really great storyteller. So it's not like a highlight. He's not just telling you what happened in a game. He's telling you what happened, why it's important. He's going through all the nuances behind it. He's going through the strategy. He's lip reading what the players and the coaches are saying to each other. He's zooming in on a fan and saying, and look, his mom's in the fan, and going through her emotions. So he's showing you all these like very nuanced stories about what's happening at a certain moment in a baseball game.
Yeah, and so that was one of the things that got him to blow up, right? Was his lip reading. Was that something growing up with him he had some kind of proficiency for, or did he just accidentally stumble onto this skill?
It's a skill that he has. And I remember growing up, my dad used to pause the TV and be like, Jim, what did they say? And we would like play it in slow motion. But he says he needs a lot of context to lip read, and I think that's true. Like you can't just show him a opera singer or something else that is totally out of his realm and say what are they saying. It takes he knows all the in and outs of baseball, so it makes it a little bit easier for him to lip read.
And then some of those viral videos was he was watching these clips or these games, and he was able to tell the audience what these people who thought they were speaking in private, what they were actually saying. Those were some of the viral videos, right?
Oh yeah, and early on, I think the Savages in the Box one, where Aaron Boone said, "My guys are savages in that box." That was one of the very early ones that went viral, and that was because he picked up audio from like mics, which I think they turned off now. Right. So he was like going to get the feed on somewhere else where you can hear all the audio, and he was telling a story with that. And now it's really funny because all of the managers, the new managers for the Padres, they were asking him like how he felt about starting the new season. And he was just like, I just don't want to get jomboyed. And it's became a verb that is used on the broadcast, is used with the players and the managers, and they come out and they're covering their mouth like that, so Jimmy can't read his lips.
Yeah, it's like a very common thing now in sports for
Yes.
players to cover their lips because they know the Jomboys are out there
Yes.
trying to read their mouths. And
Yeah.
and your brother kind of started that trend. And then there was also a famous viral video where he decoded some kind of banging on trash cans and what those meant for plays and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So basically a coach or a manager or somebody was banging on trash cans, and that's how he was communicating to the pitcher or something like that. And nobody realized that was what was happening until your brother figured that out.
Well, yeah, he wasn't the one to break the story, but he was the one to put a visual story together that really helped people understand what was going on.
So what happened during this early YouTube takeoff where he was getting these viral videos? What did that do for the business? Because we're going to start talking about you soon, because you came in a little bit later. But what was the immediate aftermath of him doing that?
Yeah, so it put us on the map at national scale. I think before we were really a local New York podcast, and now we were creating baseball headlines and stories that reached a national audience. And when you reach a national audience, that brings in national advertisers. So big, SeatGeek started to work with us, DraftKings started to work with us, and we had a lot of advertisers take notice of how strong of a community and how engaged our community was. So that was a big thing. And then it just opened up a lot of opportunity, because that was the heyday of programmatic AdSense, and we were making decent amount of money on YouTube AdSense. On the back end of Facebook, we were making money, and that allowed them to bring in revenue without hiring, training, taking the risk of building an in-house sales team. So they were able to bring on a couple of editors, producers, to help them start scaling the business.
Yeah, but back then it was still mainly just the Talking Yanks and the Jomboy Media YouTube channel.
You know what? I think we might have brought on in 2020, 2021. We brought on, we hired Joe's, who's still one of our Yankees creators today. Justin Pennick started pretty early, and we started a Talking Giants podcast. And then Jolly Olive, who's been with us now for over 5 years, we brought him on as a creator, and he is a Mets-focused YouTube creator. And he also has a Mets podcast, Shea Station. So we started to expand.
So let's talk about you now. So you didn't come from a media background. You were working for very large tech and other brands. Tell me about what you were doing, and also tell me about what your kind of experience of watching this with your brother, and how maybe it slowly dawned on you that you could help the company.
Yeah. So I actually did come from a media background. I started my career in TV advertising sales. And then I spent a lot of it in B2B ad tech, doing ad sales for those companies and growing sales teams. And then I decided I hate media. I want to go work for big tech, and I got a job at Uber. So right before this, I did work at Uber. But most of my experience was in media sales. And I saw what my brother was building, and I knew that I could really add value building out a sales team and helping him monetize it through ads. So it just made sense for me to come over and join him and help, bring in money and bring in ads, and eventually build infrastructure and processes and just operationalize it and monetize in other ways. But I think the best thing, the value I could provide in the beginning, was bring money in the door. And that's really what I focused on first. And we brought on 61 new advertisers in 2021. And that really helped us grow and helped us raise our next round of investment.
And so did you start in 2021?
End of 2020, December 2020, I started.
And did you pitch him as you coming on, or how did that conversation happen?
No, I think we both wanted it, but we did it in a game of telephone through my parents, which a lot of things happens like that in my family. So we kind of both teed up the idea to my mom and my dad, and they helped kind of broker the conversation, because we're really good friends and we're really close. So it was a very nerve-wracking step. But yeah, this worked out.
And your first title was COO?
My first title was VP of Sales.
VP of Sales. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you start, and like, what is your process from there? Like, so they had the AdSense money, they had the platform money from Facebook and YouTube, but you wanted to bring those kind of high CPM. This podcast is sponsored by that type of like host read type of thing, right? So what did you do? Like, how did you start building out their sales channels?
I started by creating inventory and deciding how many ad slots we wanted per show. I built a rate card from scratch. I created these one sheets that showed the value and why you should work with us over traditional media. And I just, did what I know how to do. It's find people, hunt them down, email them, convince them to test with us. And it was so grueling, but so fun and so rewarding because we had a really strong, engaged community. So convincing people to test with us took a lot, but once they did, they got the payoff, and it felt really rewarding for both sides.
And what were advertisers most interested at that point? Like, were they interested in kind of the audio ads? Were they more interested in sponsoring the YouTube channel? What was the real thing that they found value with?
It's funny because I've seen a big shift in this over time, but in the beginning, it was definitely they were most interested in audio. But at this time, we weren't audio first. We were video first because like we always kept our audio only feeds, but early on, we shifted to a video first distribution strategy. And I went out the gate selling ads and saying, you cannot just buy our audio. Like, you can't debundle that. You have to buy audio and video. And I think that I'm glad that I started that way because throughout the years, I've seen it's harder for companies to convince advertisers to take the video portion, and they're stuck in this like audio only world. I think that's kind of died out now. But yeah, I think at first brands saw a lot of value in just the audio piece. And now I don't think that holds true anymore. I think brands really want to also be in the video version of the show.
And so 2020 is when we saw the rise of TikTok and then this kind of shift in the internet towards vertical video, the launch of Instagram Reels, eventually the launch of YouTube Shorts. Was Jomboy Media early to that, or when did you start investing in short form vertical video?
I don't know. We weren't early, to be honest. I think we were early on Twitter, and I would say we really invested in short form maybe 2024, like 2023, but like it's a major focus for us now. And when we make a content plan now, we have our long form show, which is say Talking Baseball is like an hour podcast, long form podcast that gets distributed on YouTube. We have 10 pieces of short form content that go out with that one piece of long form content. And we really won't do a piece of long form content unless we know we can distribute 10 to 20 original pieces of short form that complement and drive back to that long form. It's a whole different game now. There's basically no sense in us making a long form show if we don't have these short form invitations to invite people to come join us.
Yeah. So you've mentioned now several franchises that have spun off. So you said Talking Baseball. Obviously, there was the Talking Yanks. You said Talking Giants. We've mentioned Jomboy Media. Can you talk about, and then I am really fascinated to talk about warehouse games, but we're going to get to that. But can you talk about, like, I'm assuming a lot of this kind of launching of new franchises, verticals came after you joined and were able to scale up the business. Can you talk me through kind of how Jomboy Media kind of diversified into a lot of different franchises?
Sure. So at first, our strategy was to build shows that other local podcasts for local teams. You know, like we started with the Yankees, and we're like, okay, let's bring in a Mets person. Talking Giants was the local NFL podcast. And we quickly realized that we actually didn't want to be a network of local podcasts, that we wanted to build national brands. And then we've realized even harder that the way to build national brands wasn't through us thinking of what show we wanted to build and hiring the personality. It's all now through the creator first. So we hire a creator. We feel that that creator fits our brand, can join us in a couple of things that we're doing, fits into the Jomboy Media world, and knows how to grow their own audience. And then we help support that creator into building their own content and their own shows and their own IP. And then that creator also joins IP that we're building. But I think that's a major difference in how legacy media scaled and how a creator-led company scales. It's not me sitting in a conference room saying, World Cup was really big, we should do a soccer show, and then trying to plug in people. I need to always start with the creator first. And let's go find a creator that matches our brand and we think is going to be a good fit. And then let's see what they want to build. And then we go from there.
So in that process, is it finding a creator who has an already existing channel and buying their channel, or they might have a YouTube channel, but you're like, let's launch a podcast together. So you own the podcast, but they still run their own like individual channel. How does that relationship work with the creator?
Yeah. Most of our creators are full-time employees, and they come in where they have some sort of social following. Like the best playbook we've seen is they've built like a modest Instagram following or a modest TikTok following, and they join us and we help them scale that, or we help them also build that same IP, expand that same IP onto YouTube where they can have a long format for a show. So an example is like these creator duo called We Got Ice. We hired them right out of college. They were TikTok stars. They still are TikTok stars. But coming here, we were able to give them the support and resources and full-time salaries and benefits. And they expanded their IP, We Got Ice, onto YouTube. And they have now 2 massive YouTube channels. One just hit 500,000 followers. So that's the model that we've seen work, is you have to know how to grow some sort of audience on 1 or 2 platforms, and then we'll help expand that.
So in that case, does Jomboy Media own those YouTube channels, or is it more they're acting as like ad sales partners or whatever?
No, it depends. If the IP was established before the creator joined, then the creator owns that IP. If it's IP that we're building together while they're here, then we own that IP.
So how many, you might not know at the top of your head, but approximately how many different channels does Jomboy Media have some kind of participation with?
I think like 20 plus.
And are you still doing like localized ones, or is it fully like, if we're going to find a creator for hockey, we're not going to do a specific hockey team. It's going to be like someone that's more generally like just talking about hockey.
Mm-hmm. So creators can talk about their teams, right? Like we have Jolly Olive that has a Mets podcast. Jolly Olive also does like 5 different things for us. He has the Jolly Olive YouTube show. He does JM Baseball Trivia. He plays in the Warehouse Games. And that is what's needed. If you think about Jimmy and Jomboy, our founder, and Jake Storiale, the co-founder, they do Talkin' Yanks. We wouldn't hire a creator that just does Talkin' whatever team. That's honestly not enough. Talkin' Yanks is 1 out of 10 things that Jimmy and Jake do. So if you just want to host a regional sports podcast, that is a side hustle, or that's one of many things you're doing if you're a full-time creator. And I think that's where, when we hire creators, we have to make sure, okay, we know you love the Rangers and you could create a podcast about that, but what are the 10 other things you're doing to actually make this sustainable?
And some of those 10 other things are like going on other people's podcasts in the Jomboy Media universe kind of thing. Like, are you trying to build out your own cinematic universe, like the way that The Ringer has its Ringerverse of like podcast hosts that are all going on it, like the Rewatchables, The Watch, the Bill Simmons podcast, that type of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's joining like the Warehouse Games, which is a big production for us. And it's our own franchise. And it's like a sports league / reality show that we own. And we do 16 different series a year under that one IP, Warehouse Games, and they would have a role in that. So that's providing a lot of value there. They would join our trivia shows when we do big productions, and we send all of the creators to MLB All-Star. And, we're making 10 shows about MLB All-Star. Does that creator have a role in that tentpole moment? Those are all kind of things that we think about, of like, how many boxes do they check? And then what do they bring new that can help us get to a new audience and we can grow together? And that's what we're thinking about when we hire creators.
So we've talked about this Warehouse Games. I really want to dive into that. So tell me the origin story of Warehouse Games. I know it was more informal to start with before it turned into a more formal business. Can you walk me through Warehouse Games?
Yeah. So Warehouse Games is a perfect example of how things grow kind of organically at Jomboy Media. And then on a business end, when we decide to add fuel to the fire. So it started out in COVID. We had an office in the Bronx, like a couple blocks down from Yankee Stadium. And Jimmy and Jake were playing wiffle ball, blitzball, this version of wiffle ball, in the back alley of our Bronx office. And then they started filming it. And it gained a lot of traction. And our community liked to tune in to watch them in an at-bat blitzball competition. And then our doorman at the time said, "Can you please stop playing blitzball in the alley? Like, we do not have the insurance for this. Like, you're putting my job at risk." And we were like, oh my God, 100%. Like, we should not be doing this. So when we raised our initial big investment round from Connect Ventures, the first thing we do is we went and we leased a warehouse in Jersey City. It was an old carpet factory, and we turned it into the home to the Warehouse Games. And the Warehouse Games is a backyard sports competition with our creators as amateur players, but it's under the big lights. It's ESPN level production. It's 19 cameras. It's professional play-by-play commentators, like Chris Rose, who calls NFL games, is also calling in the Warehouse Games. Kelsey Wingard, who does sideline reporting for the Rockies, is our sideline reporter for the Warehouse Games. But it's all of your favorite podcast hosts and creators from Jomboy Media competing in this year-round backyard sports competition. And what I mean about backyard sports is they are like quirky, kind of made-up sports. So we do blitzball, we do golf ball, which is a mix between golf and baseball. We do ball and play, which is a mix between baseball and cricket. And they all have these like weird, quirky rules where, for half an inning, outfielder has to sit in a squat with his back to the wall, and that's how he has to play the game. Or when it hits the ceiling, it means it's a home run, or stuff that, like, in the cul-de-sac growing up, I remember these weird games and these weird rules that I played with my brother.
Kick the can and all these yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that has been, we really added fuel to that fire. It started with organic growth, but then we thought, you know what, we really excel in creating sports fans. And that's what we do for Major League Baseball. That's what we do for the cricket leagues. We create fans for them every day. What if we can use that skill and create fans for ourselves? The Warehouse Games, IP that we own, we fully control. We're not worried a lockout is going to happen and how, are we going to monetize that? So that is why everything starts organically. And then for business reasons, we could decide, okay, let's really put the foot to the gas on this.
Yeah, and this is kind of segues into a rant I've been having on my own media newsletter. Is I cover sports media, and one of the things that obviously is always in sports media is the broadcasting rights for NFL games and all this stuff, and how these old school media companies are getting completely squeezed by these huge tech companies that don't need to make money through media. It's just a side business. So they're bidding up these NFL rights and these NBA rights and all this kind of stuff. So even though they're maybe ESPN still gets some of these rights, but it's they're paying such a high premium that it's becoming increasingly profitable. And one of the things I keep on saying in my newsletter, it's why aren't these media companies launching their own sports leagues? They could start small. It doesn't need to be it could be tennis tournament tournaments, golf tournaments,
Yeah.
like things that you don't have to have like huge franchise teams like spread all the way across the US and start
Right.
building out their own like sports leagues and stuff like that, and then they would 100% own that IP. And what you guys are doing, I mean, it's a slightly to a smaller scale, but like even if that tennis tournament or something doesn't have as much audience as the NFL games, at least they 100% own that audience, so they can get 100% of the monetization. They're not like outsourcing it. So that's why I think like it's so fascinating that creators are doing this. Like Jesser does it with these like basketball tournaments and stuff like that. It's like, why isn't every media company trying to build its own proprietary sport?
Sports league.
And so Warehouse Games has its own like sponsors and stuff like that, right?
Yes. So Under Armour is the official apparel sponsor of Warehouse Games. Fanatics is a major sponsor. Mountain Dew has come in a really big way, and they have, fun activations. And what's cool is they can mimic their sponsorships in their league partnerships, but they could do it in such a fun, out of the box way with Warehouse Games, because our creative approvals are, like we just have, there's a lot less rules that like versus like a very, professional buttoned up sports league.
Yeah. And then have you expanded it to like inviting like professional athletes or creators into the games, or is it still just only Jomboy Media?
No, so a lot of times we invite ex-athletes. For ball and play or warehouse cricket, that's what we're calling it now, we invited Major League Cricket players from the Cricket League in the US, MLC. We did a great collab with the AUSL, which is the Women's Professional Softball League. So that was our softball spectacular that launched a couple months ago, and that did unbelievably well. And what we do is we take these players and we pair them up onto Jomboy Media teams. So like every team gets one AUSL player, and it allows for like a really exciting competition. And then we invite other creators as guests. And this is actually like a great farm system for us. Jimmy Norp, who was from Major League Wiffle Ball, he played in a lot of these Warehouse Games as a guest, and now we've hired him as a full-time creator. So it's a great like testing ground for both sides.
So I looked, and there's not really like stands or anything like that. Like it's all, the only way you can really watch it if you're not like a player or working for Jomboy Media is like by watching it by screen. Like, are looking ahead, I'm thinking like, where could Warehouse Games go? Could it expand beyond a warehouse? Could you eventually sell like in-person tickets to it? What is the potential there?
Yeah, we were talking about this at our leadership offsite the other day. I think there's a lot of areas that we can move into. We envision it. We did a live event once at Billy's across the street from Yankee Stadium, which was really fun. And we are going to experiment with more live games next year. And then I think from there we can experiment with like more ticketed games. And we've also want to explore the idea of inviting people to play the game. So like hosting like an invitational where you can submit teams to play the game. And it's kind of like just a intramural like competition. So there's a lot of different ways we could take it. We've had gym teachers from elementary school like reach out to us and ask us for the rules of the games because they want to play it in PE classes. So we're excited because there's a lot of options.
Do you think that there's possibly a future where, just in the way that you rented out this old warehouse, that you could do the same with like some stadium or something like that, to where there's like a true crowd there that like with thousands of seats and stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%. Our warehouse in Jersey City right now is very limited because it's really small, as you said. So the seating is very limited, and it's a really big production. So moving the production is a big undertaking. It could definitely be done, but it would be something that we would have to, a big bet for the quarter that we would be put a lot of resources behind.
Yeah. So you said that in 2024, that's when you started getting more serious about short form video. So what have you done there, and just a trend that I've been following is like, obviously you can chop up clips from a podcast or something like that, but I see a lot of media companies, especially digital media companies, like building out their own franchise short form series and stuff like that, whether it's like a man on the street type of series. So what is Jomboy Media doing?
Yeah. So each creator has a social growth plan, and we really help them put together what are their social series that can be repeatable and consistent. And we help them execute these and analyze the data against them, but we're really making sure that each creator is invested in building short form and giving them the support and resources to do so. We found a lot of success in short form video series now. And I think that brands are really behind them too, because that they know that is where a lot of the audience is spending their time on short form content. And we found ways to incorporate brands in a meaningful way.
Have you? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, have you developed any repeatable formats? Like, there's the person who goes up to people and asks them to show them their New York apartment. There's the Body by Mark who goes up and asks people to detail their workout. Have you guys done anything like that?
Yeah, we've done like a lot of office content. So we have like a camera that asks everyone a question as they come off the elevator each morning, and it's the same question for all the creators. That's a short form series that is evergreen. For tentpole events, we stand up a lot of new short form series. So WBC was like a big one, right? We're like, for those 6 weeks or however long it was, we had like 10 new short form series. One was a series in Spanish. One was WBC 101. One was taste testing all the foods from the different teams. And those are all like social only series. And that's something that we've really leaned into in the past couple of years.
So obviously Jomboy is a very video and audio centric company. Have you done anything with like written content, newsletters? Like what are your thoughts are in terms of like moving into that? So
we are in very early stages, and we right now are redoing our newsletter, so it's more creator first, and we're experimenting with taking a creator's take that they said on social media and repurposing it for a newsletter. And I would say that's a very small part of our business right now, and something that like we're just really learning in. And I could see us one day saying, okay, let's go all in on figuring out newsletter and written word, but it's not something that like we are attacking full force.
So you don't have like journalists or anything like that writing articles on the website or anything like that?
No, we don't even have a website.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a basic like static page with a link to a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And is the company just primarily advertising supported right now?
90% of our revenue comes through advertising. It's like 80% is direct relationships with brands, and then like 10% is programmatic revenue we're getting from the platforms.
And then what's the other 10%?
The other 10% is our apparel, like e-commerce business, and a little bit from like content licensing and like events or a newsletter subscription or some other stuff that kind of we've tried. But apparel is going to be really big for us. So that's what I'm focused on now. I'm focusing on rebuilding our e-commerce.
And the apparel, is that like inside jokes and stuff like that you're putting onto shirts and stuff like that?
So it used to be mostly that. I would say it used to be like a standard merch shop that merch for your favorite podcasts. And then in like moment-based shirts where like something happened, like Savages in the Box, right? And we would make a t-shirt on Savages in the Box and then sell that. So moments related to live sports. So what I'm focused on now is transforming our e-commerce store from a merch shop to a lifestyle apparel brand. And that is the big bet that we are investing in. And I am so excited about this because we have a community of 35 million young sports fans. We have 14 creators that talk to them every single day. We're in constant conversation with our community. And if you look at what Good Golf has built with e-commerce and apparel and hard goods, there is so much opportunity for us to grow a true apparel brand. And that's what I've really been focused on. We also have the MLB license because of our recent partnership with Major League Baseball. So we can really take this from, just a merch kind of creator advertising business to like a true baseball lifestyle brand.
So what's the difference between an apparel brand and a merch brand? Like when maybe I'm thinking that like you're kind of trying to be more like an Under Armour and Nike type of thing, where it's like it's less about just the hardcore fans and it's just practical things that people will want to wear that they might not necessarily directly associate with a podcast or something like that. Like, how do you think about that?
Exactly. I think a lifestyle brand is the design is inherently good in itself. And a merch shop is you're buying it to rep your favorite podcast or, support your favorite creator. But a lifestyle apparel brand is like, wow, the design can really stand on its own. And I think if you look at what Good has built or Baseball Lifestyle 101, like they have Jesser with Bucket Squad, like those are all companies I admire because I think their design and aesthetic is really strong and it stands for something and there's a story behind it and they've leveraged their media to add fuel to their business, right? But it's not just, we've been so focused on building a content company that is supported by media that I'm just reshifting my focus a little bit.
So what does that mean from how do you actually move something from merch to lifestyle? Is it getting better designers? Is it getting better materials? Is it getting into stores? Like what does that actually mean though?
We are going through the process of really like tightening our brand identity and like what is the story behind why our apparel exists and getting some unifiers that can tie everything together on our store. So that's what we're doing right now. I think that we have a really strong brand in sports. And the Jomboy Media brand stands for something and it means something. And we know how that comes to life through video content. We haven't done the work to say, how does this brand come to life through apparel? And that's the work that we're doing now. So when you see one of our shirts, you're like, oh, that's a Jomboy shirt. Right. And right now we don't have that. It's kind of just like all over the place, supporting the different shows or supporting the moments that happened in baseball, but there's no like connecting elements to it. So that's the first start is like, what are those connecting elements?
So you've mentioned this MLB partnership. So as far as I understand it, MLB actually invested in you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what did that unlock for you?
Sure. So last June, MLB took a minority stake in Jomboy Media. So they own a small portion of our company, and this unlocked a lot for us. The support in the industry is just a really big thing. I think it brings a lot of validation. It is the first ever league to invest in a creator company. And if you're not familiar like with how powerful that is, there's been a lot of tension over the years between creators using league IP. And is this advertising? Is this infringing on the IP? Is this helpful? Right. And so Major League Baseball coming out and investing in us is showing how much value creators bring to the sport because we are growing a new audience for them every single day. We're creating new fans for the league. So that, just makes a big statement. And when you have support by the league, it opens a lot of doors to work with network partners, to work with brand partners, to work with official league partners. More tactically, we have the MLB license now for our apparel business, right? And we're going to grow that business together, and we both benefit from that.
What does that mean? Like, can you pick a player and make a special shirt around them or something like that?
So we always were able to do that through our license with the MLB Players Association, but now we are making official MLB products so we can use the team logos, team IP, the New York Yankees logo and MLB logo, and that unlocks a whole new avenue for us. We have access to all of the footage, the archival footage and their back end platform. And that has been the hugest unlock for us because we can make a 60-second clip. We have access to all the raw footage, all the melts, as they call them, all the different broadcast angles that you've never seen on the TV broadcast or anywhere. And we are taking all of that footage and we're making 60 seconds, very digestible, consumable clips that tell a story to the consumer. As the person on social media viewing the video, they have no idea that this was 20 clips edited and all. It's just so digestible, but it takes us like an hour to make one 60-second clip. We post that, we get north of 1 million views every single time we post one of these edits. And that's all with the access that we have from Major League Baseball.
Yeah. And I'm not up to speed on this, but like if I were to show 2 minutes of an NFL clip on my YouTube channel, it would probably get a takedown notice or something like that. Is that how it usually, I'm assuming that's still how it works. So by having this like relationship, you can actually use this footage without worrying about like copyright strikes and stuff like that.
Copyright issues. Yep, exactly. And then we have access to all of their jewel events. So, MLB All-Star is like a big one. We have creators on the ground at Media Day. We're sending people to Home Run Derby. We did a live show from Home Run Derby batting practice. We are everywhere. Every MLB event, we have creators on the ground. WBC, World Series, and that's a level of access that not many creators have.
And then, obviously I've been following a lot of the stuff with Netflix and the other streamers licensing content from YouTubers and stuff like that. And so there's this debate. I forget which prominent YouTube. I think it was like the head of Red Seed Ventures was saying that it's actually bad for YouTubers to license their content to Netflix because a lot of these like stop them from publishing to YouTube. And why would you give up that direct relationship with your audience? Where does Jomboy follow? Are you licensing stuff to other platforms? How does that whole thing happening?
So right now we are licensing. We license to Tubi, Roku. We have a channel on Fubo TV, and it has to make sense for our business. I think YouTube is our home. So we've been growing those channels for, I don't know, almost 7 years now. So it would be a really big deal to take content off of YouTube. But I'm not, we would make every decision kind of on a one-by-one basis to decide what's best for our content and what's best for our community. But I do see why people would be concerned with abandoning YouTube.
Yeah, so Roku, Tubi, those are fast channels. We're seeing more and more creators licensing to these fast channels, and the great thing about that is it's just taking content they already created anyway, and it's just another channel. What are you noticing there? Like, is that a meaningful part of your revenue? Is that like what's the opportunity there? Is that a different audience that you haven't reached before?
Incremental audience that we don't reach elsewhere. That is the biggest benefit to us. And it's, we're not producing new shows for them or original content. It's not a heavy lift for us. It's content that we already have. And if we can repurpose it to grow our brand and reach a new audience, why not?
So how large is Jomboy Media now, approximately in terms of staff?
62, I think. Somewhere in that range.
And how much of that is or what percentage of that is content creators versus kind of the ad sales team and stuff like that?
Heavy content. Yeah, we do have an in-house ad sales team, probably of 10, very small back-end business team. And then a lot of editors, producers, a huge social media team. They are really the front lines, and they are really our whole content engine comes from how 24/7 our social team is. And 14 creators. So very, very heavy on the content side.
So when you look ahead, what do you think the huge opportunity is 3 years from now? Is it the apparel business? Is it the warehouse games where you're building out these kind of media adjacent but sort of non-media revenue streams? Is that it? Or is it building out just a ginormous network of creators spanning even outside of sports or whatever?
I think it's the apparel business. I'm taking a huge bet on that. It's warehouse games, building our own sports league that we own. And 3, cricket. So we are building using the same exact playbook we did for baseball and now applying it to cricket. Cricket is the second biggest sport around the globe. It is gaining a lot of traction in the US. It will be in the US Olympics in 2028. There's a new cricket league here. We have a similar partnership with a major cricket league called Caribbean Premier League, where we're replicating the same model as the MLB deal. So I think that there's just a huge opportunity to grow cricket in the US, and I'm very excited for that.
And when you say cricket, you mean like cricket media, so basically like media that covers cricket in the same way that you cover like baseball and stuff like that. So you just think that there's an underserved audience there, and that by you being early to it, that gives you some kind of large competitive edge.
Yes, and we have creators that are truly passionate about it. Jimmy himself, our founder, is very passionate about cricket. And he was on the broadcast for the T20 Cricket World Cup in 2024 as the American voice that helped translate cricket to the U.S. audience, because he has such a unique skill about creating new viewers and fans for sports leagues. And he has the lingo of baseball that can help introduce baseball fans to cricket.
So when you look ahead like 15 years, like going back to the warehouse games things, do you ever think you or another media company could create almost the equivalent of an NFL or NBA, where there's actual franchise teams spread out all across the world, and Jomboy is like Jomboy or some other creator-based media company is like the kind of the overall owner of like that media or that sport, basically?
Yeah, I more think of it as like the WWE. So
or UFC or something like that.
Yeah. It's more reality TV. It's more personality based. It's more storylines. But yes, it could be a powerhouse international like entertainment business that's supported by media and content licensing. And we could sell posters and figurines, and that's kind of the model, all built on like intense fandom.
Okay, Courtney, those were all the questions I have for you. Where can people find you online?
Courtney Hirsch. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok.
Awesome. Well, this is a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Have a good one.